A wise hermit once said that your item sorting system is the most important part of your base, because that's where you spend most of your time. However, that same person unfortunately also said that it's probably wise to not build a lot of redstone around water and lava, and we're going to completely disregard that today, because this is 4 different item sorters that are completely lava proof. So the very first one that we have is my underwater item sorting system. So what I've done to this one to make it flame proof is I've actually added these 2 glass blocks that you see just above the comparators. This basically makes a sort of barrier layer to protect our build. So the very first one that we actually hear is the crimson biome. Now you can actually see that I've tried to stack in the item sorting system as close as I can, and I've actually even used the crimson wood itself as a bit of a structural block to the main design. Over here you'll actually find that the very center chest is actually shared between both left and right sides, and I've tried to hide it behind, I believe, what are they, nether wart blocks or something like that? Yeah, I believe they're called nether wart blocks, or crimson nether wart blocks. And we have it over here, and it's shared onto the other side, as you can see. Now, the question with this is what will actually catch on fire and what will have damage? Now, surprisingly, the chests are actually flameproof. Yeah, I know, it doesn't make a lot of sense. They're made completely out of normal wood and they shouldn't be flameproof, but they are. So let's just take it as it is. Okay, so now of course what we have to do is have a look to see whether or not this works. So if we grab something like these blocks here, and we'll grab some over here. So we'll jump over to our sorting system input. So if we jump up and over, you'll see that I can place them in quite easily. And you'll also see that it will start to actually stack into our system. You may even be able to make out, yep, there we go, a flashing comparator just in the background. If we jump to the back, you'll actually see that the block actually moves up and down. I would have thought that this would have been bud powering and creating some sort of weird sort of circuit, but it seems to work, so let's not complain about it. If we jump up here, what we're going to do is just give it a little bit of a test. So if you're a redstoner and you absolutely hate lava, I'm sorry about this, but this is where it's going to get interesting. So most of it, as you can see quite easily, is well protected by the actual tree sort of shape to things, and you can't see that there's any sort of exposed comparators, anything like that. So everything should be pretty much perfectly safe from the lava. And if we give this a few seconds, you'll see that it spreads down and around. I've deliberately tried to make it so that it will stop at certain points. And there we have it. All perfectly safe, all perfectly fine. Now you've got yourself your very first under lava item sorter, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, moving on to the next one. So the next one, what we have here is actually your more conventional shape and design for an item sorting system. Now, this one's quite easy to actually make lava proof, although I will say that I prefer the other one simply because the design on this one is very limited to what you can make. So I've tried to make it as easy as possible. So all you can see is that these 4 glass blocks here are the protection blocks that you need to put in place. And over here, if we use an example block, so we don't want to have a block here because basically it'll cut off the actual redstone line. So you need to make sure that you leave at least this one open. So let's have a little bit of a look at what this design is. Now, first of all, the input chest I've actually done with these trapdoors around it, which I think look quite nice, kind of hides a little bit. I've tried to hide most of what we've got over here. I think we should probably actually dump the lava on it first. Let's try that first of all. So we'll chuck up some lava and see how that works with everything. Obviously you can see that I've already put down a little bit of lava and made some areas that I knew that I wanted to flood. And as you can see, we've got some much more exposed redstone circuitry on the back here. So if you're a bit sort of cringy, just watch out for this, because this will work probably pretty well and hopefully no problems. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, it worked perfectly fine, flowing all the way around the redstone without any sort of issues. Again, with this build, I've tried to use the actual wood blocks as the structure blocks to just try and meld it into the way that the landscape actually is. And you can see as I go along here, I've also done a little bit of sort of I guess, sort of half building, half terraforming. So we've got a little bit of the log route sort of going along here. As you can see, I've tried to use a little bit of the blue flame. And the main thing I've tried to also do with this one is to hide a bit of the actual redstone circuitry so that you can't see most of it. So hopefully if you saw something like this in the wild that someone had set up as their base, that you wouldn't be able to immediately notice that it's actually an item sorting system. I love the fact that everything just spontaneously combusts here as well. That really adds a nice sort of lively effect to things, especially with the lava streams as well. So if we sneak through and around here, so this section is kind of like as if someone had been making some sort of a little tiny shack. So it's meant to look fairly humble and fairly sort of simple, but at the same time, it's also obviously part of an item sorting system. So it's pretty actually high-tech stuff that you're going to get here. So if I have a look at the back here, I've tried to keep this bit sort of open so that you could see where everything is and see that it is actually quite hidden. So if you didn't want people to see that, you could hide it quite easily just by putting a couple of blocks in here. And that's basically it. So quite an interesting sort of system. We'll have a look at it again at the back. I will say I'm rather pleased about how this all sort of worked out because it doesn't look like it's actually being protected. So if I have a little bit of a look through here, there we go. So you will see that it's actually flowing perfectly around where our redstone is. So it is working quite fine, but at the same time it does have the appearance that it is actually destroying things, but it's not. So I think that this one's probably more one of the interesting builds that you do get with this sort of design. But the next one sort of takes the cake. So again, we're using the very basic sort of design, and this time I've turned it around to try and emphasize a section in front of it. So what we have here is actually inspired directly from Mojang. So this is meant to be some sort of skeletal remains from some sort of ancient beast or something like that. I quite like this one. I think that this one is definitely something pretty cool. So if we have a little bit of a look at the redstone, you'll notice that it's pretty visible on the ground. It's a little bit harder to see, obviously. You'd still be able to access the chests on the other side without any issues. The design issues that there is with this one is that you'll notice that there's actually breaks in the block here. That's mainly as a little bit of an insurance policy to make sure that those redstone lines don't get broken. It's a little bit of a compromise. I think it adds to the build a little bit more, so that's not really an issue. The other feature I really like about this one is that it also forms a little bit of a sort of redstone sort of park, so a little bit of a dangerous one, to be honest, especially if you had some lava in. So speaking of some lava, actually, let's get some in. So let's put some here. So as you can see, it starts to flow down and it's all perfectly fine. Doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. These stairs work really well with it. So one of the lines will continuously try to go along, and I believe we should get one coming through the drain point that I've designed here. Yes, which is good. So as you can see, we've got definitely the lava flowing in amongst the chests. And hopefully, if I've estimated this pretty correctly, it's not going to hit. No, it is. Okay, well, that was pretty well spot on. So I got lucky on that one. And as you can see, so everything's flowing through, nothing's getting destroyed. It's all working perfectly fine. And it's all very much hidden. Now, if you're wondering where the actual bottom comparative or bottom extender is, it's actually hidden underneath here. So I quite like this one. It's kind of an interesting way to make those sort of soul sand valleys a little bit more interesting, especially considering that not a lot of people are ever going to sort of build there. And I think that these sort of soul sand areas are probably going to be the area that you want to build in if you're someone that really wants a bit of space to make some sort of monstrous creature that's died or something like that. And this sort of build can help you to actually make something quite interesting. So at this stage, I imagine that most people probably were getting a little bit tired of item storage systems and wanted to see something a little bit different. So what we have here is actually an item vault system. So what this is basically a mass storage system that also happens to have an indication system built into it. Now this is one of my own unique designs that I actually have here, and it's completely not stolen from any other YouTuber whatsoever. So you can take that to the bank. And you'll also find around the back here that the redstone is very sort of simple. It's not too complicated, and it's easy to build into something kind of like this. So as we have a little bit of a look around the back, you'll notice that I've actually extended the hopper line system compared to the regular model. That's mainly for effect more than anything else, and how it sort of fits in with this build. So let's have a little bit of lava on this one. So I've designed it a little bit differently. So if we have a look down at the bottom, all I've done is basically had the extension of the hopper system, so one hopper on top of another, but I've also added the redstone line to go around it in a circle here. And that's mainly so that we could actually put some lava straight through the middle. So we might do that one, miss out on that one, and as you can see, we have some lava going down. You could probably also have this on a very slow clock system or something like that. It's up to you what you do. But let's be honest, if you saw someone's base like this and it was their storage system, and you can see that, you know, there's lava cracks everywhere that you look, so you've got a parkour all around this. Are you going to steal from them? Probably not. So this is obviously a bit of an interesting sort of build because it kind of represents that fortress sort of design in Minecraft. I think that if you were going to build this in a world, probably having more than a 1 block spacing between each of them would make it look a lot more effective. Possibly also having it a little bit higher, probably even twice the height, would look really good. So what I'm trying to show today isn't redstone, and it's also not building. It's kind of like a next level of Minecraft, where you're trying to combine both of those at the same time into one thing. And it's very tricky. I know that a lot of guys do struggle with this quite a lot because it is very complicated to do. But at the same point, if you start with something like a vision of what you want to achieve, or have an inspiration of the surrounding environment, then start building the redstone, then you can find that filling in the gaps around it is actually quite simple. So that's how you really want to try and build around things, and I hope that you've enjoyed this. If you like the videos, like, subscribe, all that sort of jazz, you know how the story goes, and I'll see you guys in the next one.